As we begin studying genetics and continuity from generation to generation, we're going to start with probability. We're going to study the simple basics of probability because using probability, scientists and even health personnel and health careers through genetic counseling, we can make good predictions about the future offspring from parents if we know characteristics of those parents. So first of all, probability is the chance or likelihood that a particular event may occur. And the simple formula, it may look a little more complex, but a simple formula is just setting up a fraction with the top number being the number of choice events that you're looking for, divided by or over the total possible numbers or events that could happen. So for instance, if we were going to flip a coin, and a coin is going to have two sides to it, either heads or tails, and if we wanted to see the probability or determine the probability of flipping a coin and getting tails, well, the number of events of choice that we're looking for is one. One choice or one chance would be tails, but there's two total possible events that could happen. Therefore, the probability of flipping a coin and getting tails, or heads, is 1 out of 2, 1/2, or 50%. Just another example, setting up the formula of choice events divided by the total number. Chance of picking a heart from a deck of cards. We know there's one suit that is hearts, nice little heart there, and there's 4 total possible suits. Or you could do it a different way if you know that there's 13 cards that are actually hearts out of the 52 in an entire deck of cards. You're still going to get the 1/4 probability. Another example, 3 different problems, 3 different questions out of this example, showing you the work, showing you the fraction that is set up, and then the total probability or the answer of each one of these. So really the first rule, we call it a rule of probability, and it says the practice makes perfect. That may not be totally true, but what this is referring to is the more chances that you try something, as you increase the number of trials, you're going to get much closer to what is expected. Remember, there's no guarantees with probability. Probability can predict, but it cannot guarantee. The more times you try something, the closer you're going to get to what is expected. So therefore, the deviation, like how far away from something is. If I was going to throw some darts and I was going to go for the bullseye, you could actually measure how far away from the bullseye my dart was, and you could measure that as deviation. So we don't use the word deviation very much, but the closer, you will get much closer to your expected results the more times you try something. It works with free throw percentage, it works with batting average, etc. The second rule of probability is one that really gets confusing for students. What it means is that if you want to find the individual events occurring at the same time, you simply multiply their individual probabilities. In order to do this, you need to be able to multiply fractions. And for instance, if I wanted to flip 2 coins and I wanted to find out the probability of both of those flips being tails, the first one being tails would be a 1/2 chance, and then I'd multiply it by the second probability, which the second coin would also be 1/2, and if I multiply these straight across, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4. So the probability of flipping 2 coins and getting both of them tails is 1/4, or 1 out of 4. Another way to look at that fraction is if I flipped 2 coins together at one time, if I did that 4 times, one of those times, probability predicts that it would be 2 tails. Multiply their individual probabilities together. A big part of this is knowing or appreciating that individual events are just that. They are individual and they are separate from one another. You could flip a coin 5 times and get tails 5 times in a row. If you wanted to know the probability of that happening together, you would take 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. And just know that if I were to flip it one more time, the probability of getting tails a 6th time is just 1 out of 2. Here's 5 different problems or different scenarios, all off of this same gumball machine. You can pause and just take a look at the work and make sure that you're figuring out the work. If you have any questions, you can ask. Here's a standard deck of cards, 52 total cards. What would be the probability of picking out an ace of diamonds? There's one ace of diamonds out of 52 cards. There's our probability. Using the deck of cards, you can answer these last questions, probability questions. Pause, take your time, make sure that the work makes sense to you. The things to remember about probability. 1, the more times you try something, the closer you're going to get to your predicted expected results. If you want to find out 2 separate events occurring together, use the product rule. And always remember that individual events in simple probability don't have an effect on one another. They are separate events.